How do you keep your bearings when you're hiking in unfamiliar terrain?
When I was 7 years old, we were living in these townhouses in Hewitt, Texas, a suburb of Waco. And our next door neighbors had two children that were also the same age as myself and my sister. And so we would play together every day. And one time I had a brilliant idea of going into the fields behind the duplexes and had some kind of idea for an adventure that we then proceeded to spend all day hiking around in this field. Now, to me, I never thought we were lost. Our parents didn't know where we were, and they were quite worried about us, and very happy to see us when we came back home and out of the fields later in the day. But what happens when you're going out on a hiking adventure? Whether you're just hiking in the woods for fun, maybe you're looking for a new fishing spot, maybe you're a deer hunter tracking down a buck, and you're in a place where you just don't recognize it and it doesn't have a well-marked trail. The first thing to do is to look for a landmark. Now, this landmark could be a tall tree, it could be a stream, a mountain, it could even be a man-made structure like a house or a water tower or cell phone tower. One of my favorite places to go camping here in Texas is at Lake Whitney. It's a lake halfway between Dallas and Waco, just off Interstate 35. And on one end of the lake is a castle. I'm not sure why there's a castle at Lake Whitney in Waco, Texas, but there is a castle. And no, it is not the same castle from Fixer Upper people. It's just a whole different castle, but you could use that as your landmark. Next, you want to periodically turn around and see what your trail looks like behind you. Don't depend upon your footprints. I'm reading a book right now about someone who spent many years trying to find a lost hiker on the Pacific Coast Trail. One time they were searching a spot where they thought the hiker might have been, and they realized they were in a pine wood forest, and the pine needles were so thick on the ground they couldn't see their footprints. And they ended up having to make an impromptu camp out and sleep overnight and wait till morning to figure out how to get back on trail and get back to safety. Okay, so here we are. I've already given you a couple of tips, and I haven't mentioned the one you're probably already thinking to yourself, and that is GPS. Hey, we're a modern society. We are all used to GPS. Most of us are carrying a phone with us when we go on a hike, and your phone will have the GPS chip in it. Your maps will work even if they're offline, meaning if you don't have cell phone service. You can also get a dedicated GPS device, and you should always make sure you bring some kind of GPS with you when you're going into the woods, even if you think you're not going to go very far. I remember listening to a tour guide at Broken Bow in Oklahoma, where he was talking to a couple who had planned to go visit the national forest. And he told them, if you go 100 yards into that forest, you could easily get lost. It's so dense with trees, and there's just no way to tell which way is out or which way is north, south, east, or west once you're in the middle of a forest like that. Some of you may be thinking, hey, GPS is great, but batteries die. You always bring a map and compass. I got bad news for you. If you're worried about GPS not working, maps these days are often even less frequently updated. A compass, though, is a great backup. The purpose of a compass is allow you to walk in a straight line. And you don't need to learn how to do proper map orienteering with a compass to use as a navigation aid. What you want to do is know a compass heading to a known safe spot. It could be the trailhead, it could be a stream, it could be a road even. That, hey, if I walk in that direction for so long, I'll eventually run into my safe spot. And so before we get on trail, I always like to take a compass heading to know where my start of my trail is. so that I can get back there. And if I'm on trail and I have to make a change in direction, I'll, like a fork in the road, I'll take it to the compass setting and mark that spot, and even write it down in a notebook, so that if I do get lost and I don't have, and for some reason my GPS is not working, I have a compass, I can get back to that spot and I can backtrack my way back to safety. Now, as we wrap up here, a couple things. Tell someone back home where you are going and when you're expected to be back. I also tell my wife when, not only where I'm going and when I'm expected to be back, I also give her a date and time when she should actually call for authorities. Because sometimes you're out with friends and you're having a good time and you're perfectly safe, but you may be in a place with no cell phone coverage. You can't call and say, hey, I'm fine, but we found a barbecue spot and we're hanging out before we heading home. You also should carry a personal locator beacon or satellite phone to call for help. Your cell phone may have satellite SOS functionality as well. And in the future, companies like Starlink, they're expected to offer global cell phone coverage. My day job, I work in IT, so I know sometimes he seems to dread the idea that we could never disconnect just by losing cell phone coverage. But I always remind everybody, my cell phone turns off. I can put it in airplane mode. I don't have to answer the calls if someone wants to call me. But on the other hand, if you need rescue or need medical assistance, being able to call for help even in the middle of the backcountry is very important. And if you watch this next video, you can learn about the 5 C's of survival that you'd always carry with you.